So, truth or myth? We are going to have a little bit of a lighter but real session asking Dr. Lemmon, our resident clinician and practitioner that helps us curate all things WOEFM, some of the most misunderstood topics when it relates to frequency in natural medicine as well as energy. We've come a long way from the days that those topics were woo-woo, and now we are good to go. So, welcome, Dr. Lemmon.
So great to be here again.
Yes, he was reading all the questions beforehand. It's like, okay. So we're going to start. We have 10 questions plus one bonus round. So, starting with number one, everything in the human body operates at a measurable frequency. Is that truth or myth?
So I would say generally true. We have our heart rate variability, our heart waves, brain waves, rhythms that are measurable with scientific methods like that. But at the cellular level, there's still some subtle things that we don't have instruments that can measure chi and energy fields and things like that quite yet. But we know at the fundamental level of physics, all cells have a vibration, and that could be measured if we had the instruments to measure them, but we're not quite there yet. So some things are in the measurable realm and other things are not yet in the measurable realm.
Yeah, and I think biotech is there right now. That is brought about the gap, like bridging what used to be unexplained. Now, technology, AI, and all those things are helping us with that. So I in my non-medical proficiency, would agree with you on that. Number two, low frequency emotions like fear or anger can weaken the immune system.
Yeah, this one's definitely true. It doesn't have necessarily as much to do with low energy emotions, but anything that's interpreted by the mind as stressful stimulates cortisol, and that starts to increase your blood sugar and break down muscle tissue to get more protein into the system, and has all these kind of negative side effects when there's too much cortisol going on. So it can lower the immune system. There's something called secretory IgA or immunoglobulin A. When you think about positive thoughts or meditate, that secretory IgA part of your immune system goes up. And when you think about focus on negative thoughts and feelings, and the IgA goes down, your immune system goes down. So like Deepak Chopra talks about, your cells are listening to your feelings. And so you want to do your best to keep that optimism and balance and bright outlook on life so that your immune system can be motivated and educated to protect your body.
Love that. Motivated and educated. And it's not just Pollyannish, naivete. There's an actual physiological and biological consequence to it. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Sound therapy can influence physical healing in the body. Is that true or false?
Yes, for sure. There's a really wide range of sound therapies, from the ultrasonic, things like ultrasound, high frequency ultrasound can be used for destroying cancer tumors. And then more in the middle ultrasound, you have the imaging for looking at a baby in the uterus or other imaging techniques. And then you have music therapy and chanting and rhythms, like we talked about in another episode. So there's all really big range of sound therapy, and there's been a lot of different levels of study, but for sure sound therapy, music therapy, and other vibrational therapy, tuning fork therapy is a really interesting one that I've experienced. And it just really interesting how different just tuning fork frequencies, when the tuning fork practitioner would just get them a certain distance from my body, my whole body would just start shaking, and all the stored emotions would just start
Oh,
um,
wow.
releasing from my body, and just kind of slowly convulse and jerk, and all the stress and negative emotions would just kind of leave my body from the certain specific tuning fork frequency. So that was a
That
really interesting one
is
that I got to experience a few years back. But yeah.
I have experienced the crystal bowls,
Mm.
when they touch the rim and it emanates a frequency. And you know what? I entered that session a non-believer or neutral. I don't think I'm ever a non-believer or a believer of anything until I've experienced it. But I came out absolutely like it is something that, yeah, it wasn't as intensive as what you're describing, but there was definitely something that occurred. All right. So far, true, 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 true. All right. Number four, our thoughts alone can change our biological state. Is that truth or myth?
Yeah, kind of like we talked about the different stressful thoughts and which trigger emotions and feelings, and that triggers either stressful biochemistry, neurochemistry in the body, neurotransmitters, and or positive. Candace Pert, talked about the molecules of emotion, these neuropeptides that are really, really small little fragments of proteins that are carrier molecules that are essentially the tiniest molecules that we know about that trigger emotions and communicate within the brain. So thoughts alone aren't sufficient generally to cure a disease, but there are stories and it can happen. But I like to cover all the bases, make sure you have your exercise, your nutrition, your other. Um,
So that would be a no. Thoughts alone cannot do the trick.
well, thoughts alone influence the body was the question, and so that's definitely true. Thoughts alone do create those molecules, for sure. But yeah, no, I wouldn't use it as the one curative pathway. We talk about the 7 pathways of healing, and that's one of them. And so I like to use that well-rounded holistic approach.
Yeah, I agree with that. Integrated's best always. Number five, natural healing methods can be as effective as pharmaceutical interventions for certain conditions.
For sure, for certain conditions, there we talk about sometimes. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy depending on who you talk to, um, and basically for trauma, for a car accident, for a broken bone, something like that. That's where I think conventional medicine shines the very most. We have X-rays and MRIs and stitches and surgery and all those things that put you back together when things are early broken. If you get your arm chopped off with a chainsaw accident, you don't want to go to an herbalist first thing. You want to go to the emergency room and get that surgery. Um, so,
Yeah.
so in my opinion, things like diabetes and chronic pain, arthritis, things like that are the slow, progressive things, are much better handled through lifestyle, through natural medicine, and they're only managed and kind of spinning your wheels with conventional medicine. It's more of a being dependent on drugs and to essentially make a profit. Unfortunately,
Or create a dependency.
the diseases that are considered managed by conventional medicine, instead of looking to the root causes and trying to unwind the root cause and get to the true source of what's happening at the physiological level.
Yeah, and you and I need to, out of all of these, I'm already thinking we need to have a deeper conversation about these. So beautiful. So far, we haven't had a true no, but here we go. These were not like stacked up questions. These are a legitimate assortment across several questions that seem to dominate the topic of energy and frequency in natural medicine. Number 6, the body has an innate intelligence that knows how to heal itself when given the right conditions. Is that true or myth?
Absolutely. Like we've all experienced that when we get a paper cut or cut our finger on a knife chopping vegetables, and your body knows how to put that back together, how to heal those tissues. You're sealing up the blood vessels, the blood clotting cascade, all those things. And your whole body has a healing system, just like when you have a cut on your skin. We just don't see it on the inside, but obviously if you have a broken bone, it knows how to heal that as long as it's in the right position. Your
Correct.
body knows how to heal that broken bone. It knows how to heal a concussion, a bruising. There, it goes through this healing process of inflammation and restoring back balance and knitting together the tissues and regrowing at the cellular level. So for sure, the body has a healing system. And when given the right materials, the right nutrients, and having the negative inputs minimized, if you're drinking poison, you're going to have a hard time for your body to heal. If you have negative toxic energies or radiation present, those are stresses on the body that interfere with that healing system. So having those negative inputs taken out of the picture and adding more of those positive inputs of what's deficient, what your body truly needs to heal. When you have that ideal environment, then your body has that intelligence to know what to do and to heal body, mind, and spirit.
And there's some things that I'm just beginning to see hit mainstream, like reversing, any decay of eyesight, kind of, because they keep, what I was reading is that you see with your brain, not with your eyes. So, and again, we are we're setting ourselves up for a whole spring summer of conversations. But there's more to it, which is basically what we're trying to ascertain. Now, the one thing that I have been advised time and time again, and is sugar when your body is sick. Like sugar is bad at any time, but when you're fighting something as innocuous as sugar can affect your body's ability to heal itself. Is that truth or myth?
Yeah, one of the mechanisms is sugar is a ring molecule that's really similar in shape to vitamin C. Vitamin C has a circular ring shape to the molecule, and vitamin C is one of the main nutrients and foods that your immune cells take in, and that heals and feeds the immune system cells. And so when you take in sugar, that kind of takes the place of vitamin C in the immune cells, from what I understand. And so that displaces the vitamin C, where they're not able to get that vitamin nutrient that they need.
It tricks your body.
That's why taking the high doses of vitamin C when you're sick can help the immune system and get over things a little faster. And why sugar kind of can crash the immune system, because it interferes and competes with the vitamin C.
That was not an official question. I just thought I threw it in there because I've heard it big time again and again. And I keep thinking, are you just trying to get me off sugar? Or is this like a legitimate thing? All right. Number 8. Frequency-based tools like biofeedback or voice analysis can accurately detect imbalances in the body. It goes back to that biotech. Can they actually measure what we're talking about?
This one is still at the frontier of, I don't know. I'm not an expert on these yet. So I'm open-minded to it. I haven't seen all the evidence, pro and con. And there's also a really wide spectrum of people making some kind of machine in their garage that there's only one of, and other people that are mass producing these different devices and selling them online. And so there's a wide range of different technologies and devices. And I have no idea what is snake oil and what is true yet,
True.
honestly.
Okay, so then we're gonna
But
go with
I'm open-minded to
this.
energy being in the voice, information being in the voice. There's information encoded in all of life and all of vibration. But
Mhm.
as far as accurately depicting, I don't know if there's been any side-by-side studies yet of this voice scan said these results, and then we were able to compare it and measure it and make sure that this was accurate. So I'm
It's
still
not
in the
just
process of
voice, like
studying this
some of it
information.
is biofeedback from like watches, or there's some apps that claim that you can put your phone to your wrist or your arm or whatever, and it'll be able to measure like your blood sugar, like, you know what I mean? It just like,
Yeah,
you don't know, like, we don't know. I mean, you don't know, we don't know, right? But it's good to say that, to say, you know what, it is still at its infancy. There's not enough scientific research and evaluation on it, because like what you said is there's a lot of um for-profit organizations that are pushing a lot of this technology, that it may be compromised to some degree, right?
I think one of the technologies that is on the forefront right now is heart rate variability. That's a pretty well established baseline measurement that can be easily measured by watches and apps and devices. So, as far as biofeedback, heart rate variability is something that when there's more variability in between the heartbeats, that means you're healthier and more flexible and less under stress. And then the more under stress and the less healthy you are, the more that variability goes down, and it's more like robotic and even between the heartbeats. So that's an interesting one, heart rate variability. So things like Heart Math has a biofeedback device.
Yeah, we're
You
going to
plug
talk about
into your
heart math
phone,
on
and
another.
there's other devices out there that measure heart rate variability or HRV. So that's one of the big things that's popular with biohackers and others that are interested in measuring things in the body. So HRV, heart rate variability, is a fun one to measure.
So that is more mature, like it's reached that point of reliability and validity. um there's an app, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it just, like, I don't know, I giggle every time I see it, that if you can take a picture of your dinner or whatever you're eating, and it'll tell you how many calories it has. It's like, how is that possible? You don't know how it was prepared, you don't know what ingredients were used.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I don't know.
AI might be able to recognize things pretty well by now, but I'm a little skeptical about something like that for sure.
It's they're fun, like you see them on social media all the time, right? It's like, anyways, but there's a market for it, right? And that's why we're doing what we're doing right now. We want to try to discern truth from myth. At this very second, things change quite fast. All right, number 9. Grounding, waking barefoot on earth, has measurable physiological benefits. Is that truth or not?
Yes, it's truth. As far as I know, it hasn't been studied widely and repeated a lot around the world. But there's a book called Earthing, or the Earthing book. I don't remember the exact title, and there's probably several others out there. And it was also taught by some of the old original naturopaths about 100 years ago, when the beginning of um, modern naturopathy in the 1920s and 1930s. Um, was recommended that people walk barefoot in the early morning dew, walking barefoot in the park, that kind of thing, as a health practice. And so there is something very interesting about connecting to the earth electrically. There's ions in the earth, and there's something called the Schumann frequency. It's give or take 7 hertz of vibration that the earth has, this slow rumble of frequency. And so connecting to that natural frequency of the earth and connecting your ions, negative ions coming up from the grass and the ground from the earth into your body, or if you have too much, then have too much static electricity, that kind of thing, and grounding out to get rid of some of that excess static electricity has been shown to reduce inflammation, decrease pain, help with sleep, all those kind of things. So that's a really interesting book, the Earthing book.
We're going to look it up, and I do believe I believe in it, from Taoism to Eastern philosophy to all of that mindfulness. I believe in it. What I take issue with it is, as a Canadian, to tell me to step on grass is we have frozen soil for 6 months of the year. Or if they tell me, go look at the sunlight, for like 10 minutes every morning or 2 minutes. We spend weeks in gray here. It's like, so it's not that I don't believe it. It's like, you got to give me the Canadian version of it, or, the Arctic, Nordic version of it. All right. Number 10.
Fly down to Mexico more often.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Doctor's orders. Right. I will submit an approval from my budget. All right. Number 10. Raising your vibrations, scientific. Sorry, my bad reading. Raising your vibration is scientifically measurable, not just spiritual language.
Yeah, I don't know the technologies for measuring raising vibrations yet. I think that's still kind of a subjective internal feeling. But there are definitely people who have cameras that they claim take pictures of auras, and there's this Carillion photography that there's this controversy back and forth. There's the skeptics that think that Carillion photography is a hoax or an artifact of just moisture in the air or something like that. And then there's other people saying, no, that's the real energy field that we're taking a picture of, and this is the real aura, and there's different colors in your aura that mean different things. I haven't studied that yet and haven't had a lot of experience with it, but I've heard a few claims and seen a few stories that are intriguing and interesting and fun, but not necessarily on the medically relevant level yet.
Yeah. And what do you mean by measurable? Because there's that study that we were talking about, courage, in one of our podcasts, and how, in Power versus Force, and I can't remember his name right now. He did some study about the measuring of words, right? And so there are studies, but I think is another one that is very early on. Like, there's studies, but there's not many of them. So we'll leave it as an open-minded. And there's a bonus question. Thank you for playing, Dr. Lemmon. This has been informative, and definitely a lot of the questions that I see, and a lot of apprehension that I see, as it relates to energy and frequency in natural medicine. So our bonus question is: plants respond. I'm still traumatized by our podcasts about the bullying of the plants. Like, it really upset me. Like, just the thought that somebody would bully a plant for research. But anyways, like, honestly, it did upset me. So the bonus question is: plants respond positively to human intention and attention. Is that truth or myth?
I believe so. I'm not an expert on the plant world, and have a trouble keeping plants alive sometimes myself. So I'm focused on other things. But
Focus on people.
there's the
Keep people alive.
the story goes, one of the original documentaries and books that was written about it was The Secret Life of Plants.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Cleve Baxter that I believe was the one of the world experts on lie detector polygraph tests, and he just started playing around with plants for some reason and hooked up the lie detector polygraph to the electrodes to the leaves of a plant, and then he would record, and he would go have an intention to burn one of the leaves of the plant, and the lie detector would start to freak out and show this stress response in the plant, and then he would burn one of the leaves and it would freak out, and then he would have one of his associates in another room have the thought or intention to burn one of the leaves, and then it would freak out. And there's this kind of anecdotal correlation between plants somehow being able to sense the intentions and feelings of these people, and then they escalated it and had these little brine shrimp or something like in an aquarium, and they were going to kill the brine shrimp, and then
Oh my word.
and then the plant started to freak out because it was sensing the danger for these other animals. And so there was some really interesting data about plants being able to have empathy for other beings and have intention, and being able to somehow sense the harmful intent or beneficial
Yeah.
intent on their behalf, that kind of thing. But I don't know how much that has been reproduced. How much
I read a book, I think it's The Secret Language of Trees, or The Secret something of Trees, how the roots communicate with each other. And if there's like a forest and one of them is being attacked by something, it sends a signal to all the other trees that they're under distress. And they've even done, I think it's in the same book, they've done studies where there's two trees planted side by side, and something happens to one, the other tree will grieve it.
It's really, really interesting.
Sorry.
There's been this kind of common misunderstanding where we're like, well, a tree doesn't have a brain, so it can't think and can't communicate and that kind of thing.
Well, it doesn't have a brain like us, but
But
that
if
doesn't mean it
you
doesn't have a
but if
brain.
you look at our brain under a microscope, what does it look like? They're actually called dendrites. The branching neurons inside of our brain look like tree branches. They look like roots. And so people say that a tree is just a person upside down and their brain is just underground and we can't see it, but it's in the
Oh,
root system. And so that's essentially their nervous system that's connected to the earth and connected to the other trees around it. And they can communicate through the roots and also through creating molecules and essential oils and things like that through the air. They can communicate with other trees as well. So it's a pretty wild, fascinating
you know what? I'm fascinated. I'm a
field
gardener,
of
like not
study.
vegetable, but ornamental. But so I read a lot about trees and plants, and I think their healing properties are grossly misunderstood, and yeah, we'll come back to that topic for sure. All your sutures and your blood and things like that, I will pass out on you before in the first few minutes. So thank you so much. We'll put a summary of the questions and the answers. And if you have any questions for Dr. Lemmon, we'll try to have an episode like this every so often so that we address common misunderstandings about the responsibility of lifestyle and how it impacts your energy, your frequency with natural medicine. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Lemmon, for playing along. And until next time.
Take care, guys.